Welcome to This Explainer. You know, we hear the phrase second chances thrown around a lot, right? But the reality of actually returning home after being involved in the justice system, it's a deeply complex web of legal, economic, and social hurdles. Today, we're cutting through the noise to look at the concrete data and the specific policies that truly define this reentry journey. Because for millions of people, finishing a sentence is literally just the beginning. The really crucial question we have to ask ourselves is what happens when a sentence ends, but the punishment doesn't? People face a staggering number of restrictions and social barriers that can follow them for years, sometimes even their entire lives. So we're going to unpack exactly what these roadblocks are and how communities are stepping up to dismantle them. To get a real grip on this journey, we're going to explore 5 distinct phases of reform. 1. The restorative justice shift. 2. Diverting youth and healing. 3. Education behind the walls. 4. Breaking re-entry roadblocks. And finally, 5. The Clean Slate solution. Let's kick things off with Section 1, the restorative justice shift, moving from purely punitive systems to accountability and repair. Now, it's important to clarify that the sources define restorative justice as absolutely not a free pass. Instead, it's a direct requirement to repair the specific harm caused. Instead of just asking, hey, what law was broken and how do we punish the offender? This model flips the script. It asks who was harmed and what is actually needed to make things right. It actively brings the harmed person, the responsible party, and the community to the table to find a real path forward. Traditional systems, as we know, tend to just warehouse individuals, and research consistently shows that can actually increase the likelihood of someone reoffending. Restorative models, on the other hand, prioritize rehabilitation and victim-centered dialogue. And we're seeing this work all over the globe. For example, New Zealand has baked family group conferencing right into their youth justice system. Or look at Colombia. They're actively testing community service sentences for women affected by drug laws. The goal there is to preserve family stability while still protecting public safety. It's a totally different paradigm. Moving right along to Section 2, diverting youth and healing, intervening early to prevent deep system involvement. Communities are getting really smart about creating structured off-ramps, frameworks like the sequential intercept model, that keep young people completely out of formal juvenile processing. Instead of a direct pipeline to detention, a youth might be diverted to an assessment center. Idaho is actually running some highly successful models of this right now. From there, they get connected to specialized support, things like behavioral health courts, along with ongoing mentorship to tackle the actual root causes of what's going on. What's so powerful about these diversion tactics is how they shift the focus toward positive youth development rather than early incarceration. A huge part of this is the use of credible messengers. These are mentors who have actual lived experience with the justice system. Unsurprisingly, young people are way more likely to listen to someone who has walked in their shoes. It keeps kids in school, avoids that lifelong anchor of a permanent criminal record, and still ensures they take real accountability for their actions. Which brings us to Section 3, education behind the walls, the vital role of learning and digital literacy inside prisons. If we look at federal Pell Grant policy, there was a monumental shift recently. Back in 1994, Pell Grants for incarcerated students were completely eliminated, essentially wiping out prison education programs overnight. But fast forward to July 2023, access was finally fully restored. And because of that, we're seeing a rapid revival of higher education behind bars. The RAND Corporation has data strongly backing this up, proving that participating in prison education drastically lowers recidivism and boosts employment chances after release. But here's the catch. While education is expanding, there is a serious tension between strict prison security rules and the digital skills required for the modern workforce. Think about it. How do you prepare someone for a 21st century job if they aren't even allowed to use the internet or basic modern software? It's a huge hurdle. Researchers point out that while some tech, like tablets and kiosks, are making their way into facilities, they're often heavily restricted or surveilled. This makes it incredibly tough for students to get the actual digital literacy they need to survive in today's job market. Despite those hurdles, the results are just undeniable. The sources highlight some incredible stories, like Bernard McKinley, who earned his college degree while incarcerated and ended up getting accepted to Northwestern Law. No way, right? Or Thomas Jones, a formerly incarcerated dad who went on to earn a master's degree from Cornell University. These aren't just feel-good anecdotes. They are thrilling, concrete proof that when you give people the actual tools to learn, they can transform a legal punishment into a pathway for remarkable achievement and civic leadership. Let's jump into Section 4, breaking re-entry roadblocks, the jarring reality of coming home. Even with an education, coming home hits people like a ton of bricks. Researchers studying returning men in Connecticut accurately called this phenomenon a civic death. Picture getting out, but finding you're legally banned from holding dozens of occupational licenses. You face blanket discrimination from landlords. You might not even have a valid state ID, which means no job, no bank account. Sometimes you can't even walk into a government building. Plus, the Vera Institute points out that people in jail and prison are totally erased from official unemployment data. It completely distorts our economic reality and hides this crisis in plain sight. The job data from the Prison Policy Initiative is genuinely shocking. We are talking about unemployment rates for formerly incarcerated people that literally eclipse the highest national rates we saw during the Great Depression. Let that sink in for a second. That is an immense structural barrier. When employers use these blanket bans on hiring anyone with a record, they are locking millions of people out of the lawful economy. It practically forces individuals right back into the exact same circumstances that led to their incarceration in the first place. And it doesn't stop at employment. Housing exclusions drive what experts call a criminalization to homelessness pipeline. Formerly incarcerated people are far, far more likely to experience homelessness than the general public. And without a safe place to sleep, it's nearly impossible to hold down a job, meet parole conditions, or reconnect with your family. This cycle traps people in instability, completely undermines public safety, and places an incredibly heavy strain on local community resources. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, the Clean Slate solution, dismantling barriers with systemic legal reform. To break these roadblocks, we need concrete legal reforms, and Clean Slate initiatives are revolutionizing the space. They do this by automating record clearing. Before this, if you wanted to clear an old, eligible record, you had to hire a lawyer, file a petition, wait for a court date, a process most people simply couldn't afford. But by automating that step, having the state clear the record via an algorithm once a person remains crime-free for a set period, we instantly restore access to housing and employment for millions of people. It's a real game changer. But it takes more than just clearing records. Targeted policies are ensuring that personal willpower is met with actual, tangible opportunity. States are implementing ban the box to delay criminal record questions on job applications. Places like Michigan are making sure people leave jail with a state ID already in hand. We're also seeing this incredible rise in transitional entrepreneurship. For instance, the All Square Grilled Cheese Shop in Minneapolis. They successfully train and employ returning citizens, proving that when we focus on real solutions, communities thrive. Oh, and critically, ensuring continuous access to medication-assisted treatment for opioid use disorders is proving absolutely vital to preventing overdoses during that high-risk reentry period. The momentum here is incredible. April is now officially recognized by both the U.S. Senate and the White House as Second Chance Month. This is a broad, bipartisan movement, and it highlights a crucial point. Reentry support isn't some fringe issue. It's a central pillar of public safety, economic stability, and basic human dignity. So I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over regarding your own community. If our ultimate goal is public safety and thriving neighborhoods, should a criminal record be a life sentence to poverty? If someone has served their time and paid their debt, shouldn't we be removing the roadblocks that stop them from becoming contributing neighbors? Thank you so much for joining me to explore the data and the realities of reentry in this explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll catch you next time.